Alright, so I've been wanting to do a video for a while now, sort of give my life a bit of a summary, if you will. And yeah, I just thought, well, I'm back in Logan, and I thought, well, fuck it, I've got to do it. I've been wanting to do it for a while. Up until recently, I've been staying up at the Sunshine Coast rather, and I had hoped to stay on there, but unfortunately, I fucked up and took things for granted where I was staying. But anyway, let's talk about another time. But basically, I thought that I should make a video and sort of explain a few things that have happened in my life to lead me where I am now, my current predicament, and also sort of my attitude towards life and other people and society as a whole, I suppose you could say. I suppose I'll start at the start anyway. So basically, I was born in Sydney. My mother moved me down to Victoria with my great-grandmother at the time, down to a town called Mount Beauty Country Town. Beautiful town, always call that place home. And then when I was about 18 months old, two years old, we moved to Wodonga. That's where I lived and was doing school up until the age of 7. And we moved from Victoria up to the Gold Coast, just below, near the Tweed, in a town called Chindera. This is back in '95. Mum moved up here for work reasons, and she didn't want to be in Victoria anymore anyway. So she was, we went back to Victoria. We came back after about 6 months after packing up. We moved right up here, and we were living at Alanora, right? And Mum had a few friends up there and whatnot. Anyway, in the that time, she met a man by the name of Bill Hunt, or William Hunt, William James Francis Hunt, who's my stepfather, and he's one of the main influences in my music. He was a professional drummer for the band called the Masters Apprentices back in the late 60s and 70s, and so we lived on they got married, and we lived on the Gold Coast for a period of 7 years, and I learned a lot in that period that I reflect back on now, in terms of mechanics, music. Just my whole sort of persona is built from my stepfather, and he's the only real father figure that I had. My real father has never been part of my life. Mum and him had a falling out before I was born. Anyway, so a lot of stuff happened on the Gold Coast when I was a kid. My stepfather was a bit of a drunk, and my mother also had a complex with drinking because her mother was also an alcoholic when she was growing up, and she had to deal with her mother. And I've heard the stories, which I won't indulge in now and tell you about, because that's personal family stuff. But yeah, basically she's got a complex in regards to alcohol, and Bill sort of didn't help that sort of complex that she already had. So they had conflict because my mother didn't want my stepfather drinking and all that sort of stuff. And after 7 years, they grew apart and decided that they'd split ways. I lived on the Gold Coast for 7 years, and I thought that's where I would spend the rest of my teenage years, growing up with all the friends I had in primary school and all that sort of stuff. So I left. Well, Mother and myself left the Gold Coast in mid-2001. We moved to Sandgate, up in the north side of Brisbane. But at that time, I'd just come off prescribed dexamphetamine, right? As a child, when I was on the Gold Coast, I was a bit of how do you say it? A child, an unsettled child, a very active mind. I wouldn't pay attention in class. I was always the class clown, mucking around. So they decided to put me on dexamphetamine from the age of 7, right? Which was not long after we met Bill. And I know now that they were trying to do the right thing. They were pretty much, told this is the option, and they went with it. So for 7 years, I was on dexamphetamine every day. and they had me on 5 milligram tablets twice a day, and I'd have 3 in the morning, or 2 in the morning, or 3 in the afternoon, or lunchtime. They used to mix it around a fair bit, and then in the evening they used to have me on a pill called clonidine, which used to lower my blood pressure and slow my heart rate down, so I could actually go to sleep at night. Right, and I now have the opinion that it's fucking very wrong to put children on dexamphetamine for many different reasons. I mean, it's a speed-based stimulant. It's a psychotropic drug that stimulates the mind. And yes, of course, when you're on speed, you are going to be focused. And as a child, it then leads to all sorts of problems later in life, which I'm now experiencing and have been experiencing since my early teens and since I stopped the dexamphetamine. Now, we moved from the Gold Coast, and yeah, we went to Brisbane, and it was nothing but turmoil after that. My mum had a business. She was doing children's entertainment where she'd dress up as a character, and she had other employees. And towards the end of her business in 2005, 2006, she had something like over 100 employees and contracts and all sorts of stuff going on all over Brisbane. In the meantime, I got introduced to this character, Darren Rodney Taylor, when I first met him when I was 12, when we first went to Sandgate, and I found out later down the track that he was actually a convicted pedophile. But anyway, I'll tell you about the story in between in those times. So I started hanging out with Darren Rodney Taylor when I was about 15, right? And I used to wag school. I used to go and work with him, work on white goods. I used to drink a lot. I used to smoke a lot of pot. And I was a very angry person. I was always very angry, and you know, it didn't take much to fire me up. And I attribute that to the dexamphetamine for many years, being on that. So anyway, I was deceived by this character, Darren Taylor, for many years, and I actually, because of you know, the separation between my stepdad and my mother, I was somewhat you know, spiteful towards my mother, and angry with her, because I always wanted to stay on the Gold Coast, and I thought that was where I was going to grow up. And when I came up here, I had no friends. I had to start all again, the last term of year 7, you know, and then taking myself off the dexamphetamines. I mean, I used to punch holes in walls on a regular basis. I used to be a real loose cannon, and you know, I've been an angry person for a long time. And so when I was introduced to this Darren Taylor, and he's drinking and smoking all the time, I thought, oh, here we go. Fuck, I've got a mate I can drink and smoke with. I can work on stuff. You know, I you know, spend time with him and just generally go around places and see other people. And he had me blindsided to the fact that he had an ulterior motive the whole time. Now, this character, Darren Taylor, he incited me to drive many times whilst under the influence, and said, yeah, you'll be right, you'll get away with it. And, you know, I've got away with it so many times. And he said to me that he'd done jail time for 2 years for drink driving. That was his story, that I found out later was incorrect. And he'd lied to me, and my friends even had no idea that this guy was a convicted pedophile. Now, in the meantime, my mother's jumping up and down and saying there's something wrong with this guy. I don't know what it is, but I don't trust him. He doesn't seem right. At the time, he was friends with another lady, Debbie DeCampo, who had 2 younger daughters. And Darren, you know, knowing what I know now, was obviously had an ulterior motive, and he always made himself very available to look after Debbie's girls, but never be in a relationship with Debbie herself. And Debbie was an employee of Mum. She was one of the fairies that dressed up in characters, went out, did face painting and balloon twisting, all that sort of stuff. And I was friends with Debbie as well, and I knew her 2 daughters, Tila and Sabrina. And at the time when I was 15, 16, I didn't think anything of it, anything of it, being naive. So yeah, he fed me full of grog, cones, for several years, on and off, and I ended up in a lot of trouble with the police from the time I was 17 onwards. And I was mates with him for 6 years. And a lot of stuff happened in that time. You know, he moved, I moved with him. We kept trying to work together. Worked in numerous different jobs, and he had everyone full, including me. As smart as I think that I am, or like to think I am, rather. And so yeah, I lost a lot of time with my mother. You know, she was saying all these things, and I didn't want to listen to her. I didn't want to hear what she was saying. This is my mate you're talking about. How dare you say that you think there's something wrong with him and you think that he's a pedophile? And I that's what put a rift between me and Mum, is because I didn't want to listen to what she had to say, and I couldn't see the signs then that I can. Well, now that I know that there were the signs, because I was always pissed and stoned. That's all I wanted to do, was get pissed and stoned, because I was an angry child from the fucking dexamphetamine. I'm a product of the government. They have made me into this person, right? I have the choice to try and do something about it, but I tell you what, it's a fucking damn struggle to try and straighten your life out after all that shit. Anyway, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Anyway, so this went on till I was 21. Until my good friend Keith Hall, that I now spend a lot of time with and play music and all that sort of stuff with, and me and Mum are getting along better than ever. It was my friend Keith that said, you know, there's something wrong. I found stuff in his drawers at this house, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And at the same time, Mum and my friend Keith had both joined teams and went to the Team Argos, and they said that this Darren Taylor needs to be investigated. This is at the same time that I'm right towards the end. I've had, you know, many years of trouble with the police. I've had many disqualified drink drives whilst hanging out with him, and it was always funny because I'd always get pulled over when I was with him. You know, he'd drive the car drunk as fuck, never get pulled over. So I don't know what was going on there, but either way, that's what happened. And so in 2008, I handed myself in because I had 3 warrants out for my arrest in 3 jurisdictions: Ipswich District, Beenleigh District, and the Brisbane District. So it came to the end, but just before that, there was information that was to be provided to Debbie about Darren's past, and the Argos team had dug up from Victoria. Now this is what really pisses me off, right? There's a public case, public record, on the AUSTLE website, which is the Australasian Legal Institute Information Database, right? It's got all court cases. It's what they use for what they call comparative sentencing. When they sentence someone, they look back through the database at old cases, and then they they give people comparative sentencing in accordance to that. Now there was a case from 1996 that this Darren Taylor had molested his own children, and not only that, had molested the neighbours' children at some in between going to a party. Right, this is all public record, and has been on that database for many years in Victoria. The Supreme Court of Appeal, he appealed it. He did 2 years for that and appealed it, and got off on a technicality. Right, now this is public record. The police questioned me when I was 15 if he'd done anything suspicious to me or tried to touch me or anything like that. And at the time I thought, no, I thought it was just Mum saying all this stuff. You know, so the coppers knew. As far as I'm concerned, the fucking coppers knew about his history in Victoria. But they neglected to tell me, even though it's public record. Anyone can Google it right now. AUSTLE, Darren Rodney Taylor, Supreme Court of Appeal, 1996, up it comes. Right? So I wasted 6 years of my life hanging around a scumbag pedophile who got me into fucking so much trouble with the police that it could have all been avoided, right? And I'm still paying the price for that, right? So anyway, I'll get back to where I was. So the police had this information that they wanted to sign over to Debbie, right? I got wind of it from Debbie herself. She contacted me and said, the police have come down here and they've got information on Darren. Now this is 2008. Yes, 2008 it was back then. And they said to her that they've got information on Darren Taylor, and it's up to Darren to sign this information over to Debbie. Otherwise, if he doesn't, and you continue to let Darren see your children, they're saying this to Debbie, that they will get docs to step in and they will take the kids off her, right? That was the ultimatum that they gave her. So she's called me and told me, and I've pretty much seen red because I've realised what was going on, right? And I quizzed him. I was having a beer and I quizzed him and I said, what the fuck is this shit about you having to sign stuff over to Debbie or they're going to get docs to step in? And he goes, oh, it's just drink driving. And I said, fucking it, what? Well, why won't you sign it over? If it's just drink driving, what have you got to hide? Why not sign your history over? Seemed pretty obvious to me, you know, seemed pretty logical. Oh no, I shouldn't have to fucking do this, you know, fuck the government, rah, rah, rah. And I quizzed him a few more times and, you know, I was a bit drunk at the time. And then pretty much I summarised, I said, if I find out it's got something to fucking do with kids, I'll kill you myself, you fucking piece of shit. With a lot more verbal, a lot more raised voice, but I don't want to disturb the neighbours, you know. So I was furious, right? So I turned my back on him from then on out, right? I was working with him, I threw my job in, I got my holiday pay, I pissed all that up, and then I handed myself in. And that was in 2008. Meanwhile, I had a bad tooth abscess, right, which I had to have an incision to get drained through my face. And in turn, like I said to a friend of mine the other day, they cut the lower facial nerve, and I've had nerve damage and wasting of the muscles and in this part of my face, which is constantly irritates me. So not only have I been a victim of the government through dexamphetamine and the misdiagnosis of ADHD, which is a fictitious disease as far as I'm concerned, and many other people say the same thing. I've had to deal with a scumbag fucking pedophile for the good part of my life when I was younger in my teen years, pretty much wasted my teen years hanging around a scumbag pedophile, and didn't find out till I was 21. And then served jail time because of all the offences that I committed whilst I was accompanied by this fucking convicted pedophile, which could have been told to me when I was 15 when they were asking the suspicious questions when they knew full well that he was a convicted pedophile. I lost all the time with my mother because I didn't want to hear what she had to say, and I still feel guilty about that to this day. Right? Then I got nerve damage and, because I was put in prison and I wasn't able to get to proper medical advice. I should have been seeing a maxillofacial surgeon, not some fuckwit bloody GP in a prison who decides to take it upon himself and then cut my lower facial nerve, right? And, you know, these are all the things that I've had to deal with in the last 15 plus years. And it's just like, well, 20 years because of the fucking dexamphetamine as well. So what I'm saying is that I've had to deal with a lot of shit in my life. A lot of shit. And yes, I'm an angry person. I laugh it off. That's why I'm such a joker. Because I try not to focus on the bad. But then when I drink and I don't smoke pot, I get very angry. And I think I've got every fucking damn right to be angry. I was misled by a pedophile, right? That I wasted my time hanging around when I could have been progressing as an average citizen, a normal citizen, right? All that time that I was with him could have been prevented if I was told in the first place when I was 15. If they had showed me that evidence, that's public record, when I was 15, do you think I would have hung around him? I would have gone straight to mum and gone, oh, look, Look, we've got the evidence. You're right. I'm sorry, Mum. I should have listened. No, but me being arrogant, saying, no, I'm a better judge of character, didn't listen to my mother. I should have listened. Right? But at the same time, I was pissed off about the Gold Coast. I was pissed off about being on dexamphetamine. All I wanted to do was get pissed and stoned. I found Darren Taylor. Yeah, he would facilitate the whole fucking thing. So that all that time was wasted time. I could have prevented all that. Well, I couldn't have, but the government could have. Queensland Police could have. They had the information. It's public record. How fucking hard is it for them to do their job? Right. Now, here I am, 28 years old, still can't get a license. Still an alcoholic because I can't see any solution to this. I don't know what the fuck to do. I've still got nerve damage. I've been on their tablets, tried to fucking... It just makes you paranoid as all shit. So, you know, I might be having a rant, fucking, you know, you might think I'm self-righteous or something. I don't think so. I think I'm a fucking victim. And now I've got to be on probation because I assaulted someone out the back of my mother's house because they antagonised us for fucking over a year. My mum's been here in Logan for 10 years. I'm watching her dwindle away, die in this area. You know, and finally, thank fuck that she's out of here. That assault thing that happened out the back here, which I'm now on probation for, is that there was a final straw. She couldn't be here anymore. She doesn't want to see me here either in Logan. This is bullshit. This is a bullshit existence. So, like, really, I don't know what to do. I want to be happy in life. I want to get on with life. I don't want to drink all the time. I don't want to, you know, be, you know, depressed and miserable and angry because the system failed me. And if anything, I'm a production of that system. And the failure to make me aware of the people that I'm hanging around when it's public record and they're being convicted in another state and they can't put the two together and tell me when I'm 15 years old, when I'm a minor. All these offences happened from the time I was 17 onwards in like a 4-year period while I was still under the influence of this Darren Taylor fella. Like, where's my fucking justice? I'm still paying the price. What? I haven't seen him since 2008. What? 2008, 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 7 years ago. And I'm still paying the price. I did my jail time. I still can't get a license. You know, I'm just fucking over it, to be honest. You know, and people wonder why I drink all the time. Now you know. Now you know why I drink all the time. Now you know why I'm an activist. Because I've seen the fucking hell side of life. I've seen the fucking shit end of the stick. I'm still living it. You know, where's my fucking fair go? Where's my break? Where's my reprieve from this bullshit system? You know, you talk about being sovereign. Mate, I can't even drive around a car. If I get pulled over one more time in a car, bang, 18 months jail. See you later. Forget about all the shit I just spoke about. That doesn't matter. That doesn't come into account at all. No, you fucked up. It was you. Doesn't matter that you were hanging around a scumbag pedophile that had a ulterior motive to make you drive for him. And fuck no, he's probably trying to groom me as well. You know, and then when I find out and I cut him off and don't want to have nothing to do with him anymore, he vanishes and then he moves on to another family and then molests some 4-year-old girl. When I was trying to tell the family about the fact that I'd found out this evidence. Fuck, I feel shattered about that, to be honest. It still upsets me to this day. I tried to tell the family after I stopped having anything to do with him. I did 50 days in remand, 2008. I found out this information thanks to my friend Keith and Mum, and got the case file up, read it, and I forwarded it to everyone that I knew that knew Darren. And the one person that I couldn't get hold of was Sandra and her 3 kids. Now her daughter Yolanda was 4 years old. She got raped by this fucking monster. And to this day, I feel it really upsets me that I couldn't get the information to her quick enough. No one wanted to hear it. That's the thing with these people. No one wants to believe that they were friends with a fucking pedophile. I didn't either. They deceive you. They trick you. I tell you what, if I ever see that fucker, I will take pleasure in killing him. And I'd say that without a fucking qualm at all. It doesn't bother me. I will dance on his fucking grave when he is dead for the amount of fucking anguish he has put me through, and fucking misery and guilt and fucking depression of losing that time with my mother, and also not being able to prevent a 4-year-old girl getting fucking molested. Now, that's my video. I just want to get on with life. Get a car, get a license, move on, put it all behind me. But while I'm still paying the price and I can't fucking drive anywhere, I'm still living the nightmare. Alright? So now you know. Now you know about my past. Yes, I've done nearly 2 years worth of jail all up because of this fucking bullshit. Yes, I drove cars after I left. You know, I shouldn't have driven after all that shit. I drove once after that, and fucking bang, put me straight back in jail for 13 months. Actually, sorry, no, I tell a lie. I did 13 months jail for the I did the remand, and then the accumulation of the drink drive, disqualified drives, what put me in jail for 13 months, whilst I was still hanging around with Darren because I had outstanding matters that hadn't been dealt with, and the accumulation of all that until I'd found out. I drove once after that, and I was driving back from work in a work van, and I was trying to do the right thing. Yes, I shouldn't have been driving, but that landed me in jail for 7 months, just for one time. So, there you go. That's pretty much, without going into too much detail, well, that is 26 minutes long, 27 minutes long. That's as much detail as I'm prepared to put in now, but that's pretty much my life story, and I'm trying to get on with life, and I have a lot of trouble not fucking myself up by making silly mistakes. Anyway, that's that. I'm gonna have some beers, probably get drunk. I'm back at fucking Logan. I hate every minute of it. It's been a nightmare for 10 years here, and prior to that, still been a nightmare. So yeah, that's that. Now you know. Over and out.